Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
CubeMonk, featuring the world's first smart cube. Track your goods with our advanced GPS system. Welcome to the future of moving and relocation at cubemonk.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Insured Nomads provides protection and peace of mind with health insurance, travel insurance, group, or tailored insurance for the globally mobile. Visit us at insurednomads.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
It's Ed Cohen in San Diego today, and our special guest today on Global TV Talk Show is Julie Taylor, the headmaster for the Bridge School.net, and Chase Eskelson, who's the leader from Verano. So Chase, please do a better job self-introducing and tell us what Verano is specializing in right now.
Yeah, Ed, thanks so much for having us back. We just love being with you.
Thank you.
One of the things that Verano's focus is creating the absolute best student experience, no matter what, no matter where, no matter how. We use digital tools, digital curriculum, all these great digital things that Verano specialized in over the last 20 years. And over the last 3 years, we've really said, okay, how do we take the very best of digital and then merge that together with the very best of the in-person experience? So we've really been hyper-focused on creating and partnering with schools and districts and private schools to create awesome hybrid programs all over the world. And it's been a lot of fun.
Well, in the past, we're going to speed on into this year that we've all had here and the impact of being not in school, but yes, in school because of online. So, and how parents dealing with all that. But you have been on our show many times, you guys, and had guests like iCode and Strong Minds and Tutoring kind of thing. And I know we're going to discuss some of that again today, but those have been really eye-opening and educational for me. Julie, what do you have coming up that in terms of the end of the year? What is there really an end of year for you guys?
Well, the Bridge School is open enrollment, so we actually are able to enroll and serve students year round. We're not tied to a specific semester, which is fantastic because we can work on the student's schedule and the family schedule based on where they live. But in education as a whole right now, I think that there's a lot of things going on and there's a lot of discussions right now. And I think that one of the biggest discussions that are happening is, how are we going to help students close that gap? Because for many students this entire year, their educational growth was stagnant or they've lost ground when it comes to what they have learned. And so now schools are looking at, and many, especially, many states within the United States, and this is abroad too. A lot of the different testing last year was postponed. And so now we are shifting the focus. So last year at this time, it was, okay, how do we get the schools up and running and helping them become a digital school, right? And so they different schools did that to varying degrees of success. We were very proud to say that we have been online for 20 years and we know how to do this. So our students didn't have those huge gaps in learning like some students across the world have. However, we know that this is a global issue right now. And so we really need to shift that conversation now to schools are getting back in person, but now we're seeing that there's some really big gaps. And whether it's, those first graders who are just starting to learn to read, and now we've got a little bit of unsurety on where we need to close those gaps, or if it's high schoolers who are trying to earn credit to graduate. And so there's a big conversation happening across the globe right now on how we can make sure that these students have not permanently lost ground in their education.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
So a lot of it now is the testing thing, right? And without shaming, right?
Yeah.
And I guess elongating the process also. And I don't know what that does with costs, but if you want to get into that. But the testing thing, you as an educator, teacher, is the testing going to be any different so that it's not as I guess autocratic is a word that I just dreamt up.
I'll touch a little bit on this and let Chase jump in too, but what we've seen is last year, most of the testing, so schools have used testing in different forms. So whether it is a state standardized test or whether it is an AP exam for AP courses to get college credit or an IB exam. So these are all exams that were either canceled or hugely modified last year. And that includes the ACTs and the SAT tests last year. There was a lot of cancellations with those types of tests across the board. And so now this year, spring is typically when those types of standardized tests happen. And they're starting to pick back up again. And what's happening is a lot of folks are pushing back because what happens is schools are graded and students are graded based on those tests. But I always equate standardized testing with your health. And if someone's trying to lose weight, you need to know where you're starting from, right? Whether it's the scale, which people don't love the scale, so maybe it's measurements, right? You're taking a tape measure and you're measuring your waist, you're measuring your hips. That's what we use these tests for, to see where that benchmark is. Okay, so now if students are taking their test this spring, what we have to compare it to was 2 years ago, if they took tests 2 years ago, and where are the deficits and where are we going from here? Many schools are offering some type of summer school to help with that remediation, and different programs to really help students close that learning gap.
Interesting. Chase?
Yeah, there's a philosophical difference of opinions when it comes to testing, and I'm not going to dive into that today. The one thing that I will say is it's really important that we keep tabs on where our students are currently. That we lost an entire year's worth of student academic performance data. And over this last year, there's been kind of two things happening. One, what did our kids miss out on last spring? And two, how do we fit all of what they missed out on last spring plus the entirety of the current year into one school year? And I will be very honest and say that some schools are doing a much better job of this than others. But if I had to say, just generally speaking, I would say we're not doing a very good job of this overall. It's been rough. And I think that it's time, and I'm seeing the conversation start a lot all around the nation and around the world of, what are we going to do for these kiddos? Specifically, these high school students who are getting ready to graduate with big holes in their education. And so I think that as we continue this conversation today, the question is, who's the first and foremost means of importance in that student's life? And the answer is the parent. We can say it's the school counselor, we can say it's the principal, we can say it's the teacher, but at the end of the day, it's the parent's responsibility, and they've got some big questions they need to answer. How are we going to solve some of these problems? I think back to when we had the TutaPoint team that joined the show, and they are doing amazing work for students right now. They have the assessments built into their proprietary structure that they're determining where are the students, and then they're personalizing that experience for those kids exactly for what that one student needs. It's the same with the Bridge School. The curriculum that we use, it's a Strong Mind curriculum. It assesses the students where they are, and we're able to customize each student's experience to fit their exact need. And if they're missing some pieces, we're going to work with that student and catch them up over time. But there's a lot of big conversations that need to happen around this right now.
So summer school or additional work, and who pays for all that?
Great question. So I think it really depends on where you live, just like life, right? Different countries, different states within different countries are offering various remediation programs. I know many states in the US right now are working with their departments of education. They've been given excess funds from the government to help with this, and they are offering summer school programs. Many schools are in the development phase of what that summer school looks like right now. So it's different for every program. So you, as a parent or as a corporate HR person, might want to research what's available in your areas for the employees or for students so that they can then seek that out. And so there are things like remediation focused on the core areas of math and language arts. A lot of schools want to focus on those two areas to make sure there's not those large gaps. There's summer programs like we were talking about with iCode that are more coding or specific focused on a certain area where the student might have more of an interest in. If they're going to do school during the summer, they want it to be something that's fun, that they can really enjoy, right? A lot of times So there's something that's more like iCode or gaming, something that along those lines.
Yeah.
And then there's programs where, like the Bridge School, we are offering credit recovery for high school students. So if they failed a course over this past year, they can come and redo that course to get a passing grade.
Excellent. Wow.
I would say, Ed, that as we look at this next summer, and Verano's partnered with several of these different entities for supporting the students in our own schools across the U.S. and around the world. This is going to be the summer of opportunity. There is more money flowing out of Washington, D.C. to schools and to after-school programs and to summer school programs than we've ever seen. And I'm not talking like double. We're talking like 10x the amount of money that's normally flowing. And if parents can understand how to tap into this money, they're going to have some incredible opportunities for their kiddos. Some of the things that we're looking at specifically for our Arizona campus, and this is just top of mind because I had a meeting about this just yesterday, but we're looking at how do we support our students through the arts? You know, how do we get music lessons, voice lessons, a choir set up? How do we get things like art going at the school and bring in community leaders? And that's one of the things that we love to do is how do we incorporate the community into our schools? So we found a guy who does voice lessons in the Goodyear, Arizona area. And we're jumping on a phone call with him later today. Hey, we've got this school, we've got this excess funds. How do we work together to ensure that our students get access to great musical content? And it's killing two birds with one stone. We get to support our community that we love and that we can become a part of this community, but we're giving our students additional opportunities that they may not have had otherwise. So it's a really cool opportunity that we have where, we can't lose sight of the reason that we have it is, well, we had all this garbage happen last year and, we're still coming out of that. So I guess at the end of the day is how do we support students best with what we've been given?
So we have about 10 minutes remaining available. So why don't we circle back to the idea of tutoring and the role of that now? Julie?
Yeah. Go ahead, Julie.
So yeah, absolutely. And, again, this is about tapping into what's around you. And so I can't say this enough. If there are corporations or HR folks who are watching and you can help your employees by gathering what's available in your area, it would be a huge benefit to your employees and their families, because this is got to be one of the top stressors right now for families. And if their kids are struggling, that's where their mind is, and the production and their work is going to be affected. So, there are companies out there like TutaPoint that we've had on the show before here, and they will help you. If you have a specific course that you're working through, they can help you through that course. So they have tutors in every subject and every grade level. They'll help your student understand and master that course. Or if it's just general understanding, they have content that they can bring in to help the student understand. Or if you as a parent go to a tutor, sometimes, if you have a younger student, sometimes you can find an honors high school student or a college student that's looking to earn some extra money that can dig into the curriculum. And here's a hint for parents too. Your student most likely, and school's not out, so maybe they can start doing this if they haven't already. They can take their curriculum from this year and, bring that to a high school student or bring that to a tutor and say, I didn't really learn anything this year. Can we dig into this and kind of show them what you've been working on so that they have a starting point as to where to start with, going over concepts and tools. But A lot of folks think that tutoring is for students who are, lower on the spectrum or just really struggling at the whole education, or maybe they have a learning disability. And it's not. Tutoring can help anyone. And it's really just giving that student that one-on-one attention that maybe they didn't get this year.
Thank you, Julie. Chase, I want you to comment on that, but also add in some thoughts, please, about what college recruitment, placement.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah, it's really unique what they're doing, and they've changed quite a bit over the last year, as you can well imagine. To kind of finalize my thought on Julie, I was going to say the exact same thing. Is it's not for the low end. It's not for those ultra high end that are trying to get into the top dog schools. There are opportunities and ways, and Julie mentioned one, going with a high school honor student or a college student. But there are other ways that you can help reduce the cost in order to get your student the tutoring that he or she needs. And one of those ways is some tutoring entities have small group tutoring. So instead of you paying for that tutor's time one-on-one, you partner with 3 or 4 other kids who need help in that content, and you divide the cost by a quarter, basically. You pay a quarter of the total cost if there's 4 of you. But thinking about long-term and big picture, what has changed from the college perspective? So many times we've seen this last year as universities are looking at, what did they used to look at? They would look at your ACT or SAT score. They would look at your transcript. They would look at potentially service learning opportunities that you had. And there was a few other things that they would kind of put into your portfolio of what they're looking for. Because ACT and SAT is required to be in person, at least it was up until last year, that test didn't really happen. So there's a whole now 2 years worth of students that may or may not have SAT, ACT scores. And so that's been waived from so many colleges and universities. It completely pushed it aside. We're not even looking at that anymore. Now we're going to look at what were their grades, what's on their transcript, and what, so much of it, I think, maybe we can get Katie, who works for ACT, to join the show in the next couple of weeks. But, things like your essay are becoming incredibly important. Julie, I know you've got kiddos that are getting ready to go into that space, and they're getting ready to go to college. Yep. What have you seen?
Exactly that, Chase. So what's very interesting is that in California and most of the United States, those ACTs and SATs last year were canceled. So I had 2 daughters that were signed up, one each, ACT and SAT, they were canceled. And what we're finding in the state of California, at least, is that the colleges and universities applications this year have skyrocketed because they waived that requirement of your SAT or ACT score or a minimum score. Those applications have skyrocketed. So what they're looking at now are your transcripts. What kind of courses did you take in high school? Did you take honors or AP level courses? And then your essays. And that is a big piece of it. They really want to know who you are as a student. And so going to a college counselor and having them review your essays, because those college counselors know what the colleges are looking for, and they're not going to write the essays for your students, but they will help give pointers, and they'll proofread it and say, this is really good, but let's maybe focus on this sentence a little bit more, because let's get a little bit deeper here. I think they would like to hear more about this. So they'll give you some pointers on what colleges are looking for to help you get in. And so a lot of students also, this is also something that I'm seeing a trend in, is a lot of students are wanting to go to the community college route first, because if they're unsure if they're going to be able to live on campus, or if they're doing virtual learning for some of their courses, they would rather get those general ed courses done at a community college where they can live at home and save money. And then once this is all hopefully back to normal, then transfer those credits to the university.
And
Can I just say that
yeah.
I think that is one of the absolute best things that's going to come out of this. I am so tired of hearing these students coming out of college and university with $40, $50, $60, $70, $80,000 in debt.
Mhm.
And I'm just such a big proponent of doing the community college route early. Those credits are exactly the same. They're no different for the core content areas. And so to do it for a tenth of the cost in many instances, like, that's fantastic.
So, the stigma of community colleges in the years past was that, it's a holding place until, stay out of the army, or, or until you decide to wake up one day. And then you wonder, well, can you really learn anything from the teachers who are in a community college framework?
Mhm.
Are the accreditations or the certification process for those teachers different?
Mhm.
One of the interesting things about this, and I really love a guy by the name of Anthony O'Neill. He's done a lot of research and writing about the community college aspects. Chris Hogan is another guy. They're both part of the Ramsey Solutions Network, and they're huge on the benefits that you can be found. They're still certified teachers. They're still fully able and they have the background required in order to teach these classes and to teach them effectively. And you're right, there has been historically this negative connotation, but I think, the current generation, they're coming out of these state colleges with so much debt,
Mhm.
and they're turning around to their kids and they're like, hey, we're not doing that. We'll get you, the first 2 years with a reasonable cost plus, and again, most kids don't want to hear this. They don't want, I want to go live in the dorms. Well, that's not an option right now. So that's a perfect example of why it's happening. But to get all that stuff out of the way, living from home, not going into debt, not spending the next, all of your 20s and into your 30s. I've heard of people in their 40s still paying on their student loans. And that's just mind boggling. So to have this opportunity, I think it's going to really take off over the next couple of years. Additionally, and again, something I think is fantastic, you're seeing an uptick in trade schools.
Yes.
We talked about this a little bit before the show started, but kids going to be plumbers, electricians, starting their own business and creating a fantastic life for themselves, making 6+ figures a year. And they're not paying in their student loan debts. They're not putting thousands of dollars every month towards student loans. They're putting their hard-earned dollars right in their bank account, which is fantastic.
Yeah, we actually, we have a student who's currently in Honduras, but is accepted to attend next year a hospitality college in Spain, which is a global hospitality, and that's what it's focused on. And it's so exciting to me because I'm sure, Chase, you experienced it, Ed, you might have experienced this as well. When I was when it was time for me to graduate and go to college, that was the expectation. And our counselors at the time even said, it doesn't matter what your degree is in, you just need a degree. And for us to just kind of wander into life, not knowing what we want to do, and like Chase said, spending all of that money, now students are graduating, they've spent $200,000 in debt is not an unreasonable thing right now. Like, it's probably average on what students are coming out of debt with. And to be able to get a job is more difficult because a lot of times these students are going straight from their bachelor's degree into their master's degree without having any real world job experience. So now they're overqualified but undertrained. And so it's a really sticky situation. And we want to make sure that we are giving students options that are going to be best for them in the long run, whether it's college, that is a fantastic path for some students, whether it's a trade school, whether it's a community college. We want to make sure students have all of the options set out before them.
Thank you, Julie, for being so loquacious and and so informing. And Chase, it's it's been an honor for me to have you involved, and welcome you back, of course. So thanks for being on Global TV.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks so much. See
Ciao.
ya.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.